morning.
Good
We'll
morning.
go ahead and start the regular session of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, also sitting as all special taxing districts, December 2nd, 2024. Board members will attend either in person, by telephone, or remotely via electronic. We're all here. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Supervisor Lyons, can you please lead us?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Throw this away. It keeps running.
We'll move on to call to the public. Call to the public is held for public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.01, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or rescheduling the matter for further discussion and decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person or submitted by email at publiccomments@yumacountyaz.gov. The email forms of public comment will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read out loud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting starting at 9 a.m. Desiree, do we have email? No. And I do have two speaker forms. Gail Castricone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Gail Castricone. I am the neighborhood advocate for the Avenue B and C Colonia Butterfly Project. Our county administrator, Ian, called me last week in reference to the band trailer park. He spoke with Craig Sellers and Ty Martinez in DDS. Unfortunately, the court's hands are tied as we all await, after more than 2 years, to find out if the court can bring any closure for the community that has had to endure many years of unimaginable slum, blight, and crime. I pray that justice will prevail. The slumlord and the park manager have a long history of consistently breaking not one, but all Yuma County codes and breaking the law in numerous ways. I pray that we learn from this experience and find out where the ball was dropped after years of the neighbors turning Bam Park in. Ian feels bad about the situation at Bam Park. He has met with us on numerous occasions over the past few years addressing the needs of B&C Colonia. He also shows me compassion and kindness as I rattle on and on and on about my feelings and frustrations. Ian deserves to have a raise or at least have a bonus. My heart breaks every time I drive by Bam Park as I think about so many people's lives that have been changed forever from the trauma endured by the Bam Park and throughout 5th Street, Vaughn Avenue, and May Avenue. Supervisor Pancrazzi has been amazing, and we are happy to have her be a part of our monthly neighborhood meetings as she continues to advocate for the Avenue B and C Colonia. Even though Thanksgiving is over, we continue to be thankful every day for our committee and residents. They continue to stay steadfast by helping with cleanups, food distributions, and handing out flyers. We have a different speaker every month from Yuma County and nonprofits. It is important for us to be informed about the different agencies that can help to empower the residents on how to care for themselves and for their neighborhood. We have these agencies speak at our meetings: engineering, grants, victims' rights, public works, fire code enforcement, planning and zoning, sheriff's department. This month will be Salvation Army. Martin Luther King quote, "The best way to combat what's wrong is to do something right." God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. And I'm glad that Ian's communicating with you, so.
And that he's a good guy.
Oh, no, he wants something done too. Oh, he wants something done, just, yes.
I have another speaker form here, Aaron Sally.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I apologize in advance. I had some technical difficulties this morning, so I have one copy of this that I will leave you at the end. Supervisors, I appreciate the time to be able to speak with you directly. My issue is about property taxes and the reassessment of open and vacant land that has not been rezoned or doesn't show an intent to be developed. My property, as you all know, is located in the foothills just south of 40th Street, right in the open desert. My property value this year was increased by 15x the fair cash value. My property value went from less than or about 12 to 14,000 because it's basically unbuildable, as most of you know, except for a very small percentage, to $181,000 in 1 year with very little justification. Now, we've done our due diligence. We went to the assessor's office and we spoke with the appraiser for over an hour, to which we got zero resolution or any information as to why it was valued so high. My neighbor to my south, Zach, his property taxes went up by 18.75 times, almost 19 times his value, not his taxes, but his value. The issue comes down to that they were blanketing, putting a certain value on land, and even according to the state, they're supposed to take the contour of the land and the parcel itself into consideration. The only piece of information that we were given was that because a solar farm was put in towards south of the county, that made all land in the county worth between $7,500 and $8,500 an acre as a minimum. And I said, but you don't understand not the zoning, but the land use codes. And they had no understanding of the land use codes or what it took to go from a standard RA10 or yes into a commercial to be able to put that type of operation in, nor the minor or major amendment that it took to do that. I think I have several examples here where things have doubled. And also I brought the flood map, which you all know I've seen several times. I used the property code on here to show that most of our properties are completely unbuildable out there. And it's causing an undue amount of stress to developers who are waiting to develop the land. When you doubled their price with zero or double their fair cash value with zero improvement to that property, it changes the dynamic of what developers are going to be able to hold that land for our future. Now, we all know that the foothills is going to be developed sooner or later. It's the last piece of land that there is. It's functional. I've been supportive of several of the developments, especially the RA5 change and, RVS 5 change that was done last year. I just think this is pricing a lot of people out of the market. The issue is my property taxes themselves did not go up, but if I make any improvements to that property, which I have not put the house out there yet, now I'll be assessed on fair cash value. I have a very specific example, which is the property to my north. It's approximately 20 acres. It was bought by Ryan, and I know him very well. That property was on the market for 2 years, and it could not get sold for $200,000. When it finally sold, it was sold for $160,000, and that was about a month and a half, 2 months ago. Now it's been valued at over $250,000 this year. It doesn't command that kind of price, nor has it. And according to the statutes and according to the information that I've been able to find, the way that it's supposed to be valued is full cash value should be what the market can bear. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. Ms. Baker, good to see you.
Do you want to leave information with,
Yes.
Your stuff with Desiree?
Question before we leave this subject. Isn't he supposed to like appeal his evaluation and through the county assessor or the county assessor, and the county assessor is supposed to bring his complaint as a formal way of resolving the issue? We can discuss
We
it,
can discuss it, but yeah, there was a process for appealing.
because otherwise.
You'll get with Ian and Ian.
item? Thanks. Anybody else from the public that wishes to address the board? Seeing none, bring it back to the board. We'll move on to presentations, proclamations, and appointments. During this segment of the agenda, board members may discuss the presentations and proclamations and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission and the Yuma County Board of Adjustments. No legal actions will be taken. Any appointments or?
For me.
Move on to item number 1. Chairman proclaims December 1, 2024 to be World AIDS Day in Yuma County. And we have,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
we just had a resignation that was submitted last month that I forwarded to you. Can you remind me what that board was and who makes the appointment?
Library.
No, it wasn't library.
To me or to the clerk?
I said it to Desert. Desert, do you remember that?
I don't remember the board. I can get that information.
Okay, all right. We do have one new vacancy, but I don't remember the specifics, I'm sorry.
All right. Item 1, World AIDS Day in Yuma County, and Supervisor Pancrase, can you read the proclamation?
Sure.
Thank you.
Proclaiming December 1st, 2024 as World AIDS Day. Whereas the global spread of HIV infections and AIDS necessitates a worldwide effort to increase communication, education, action, and overall prevention to stop the spread of HIV and AIDS. And whereas the World Health Organization observes December 1st of each year as World AIDS Day, a day to expand and strengthen the worldwide effort to stop the spread of HIV AIDS. And whereas 2023 UNAIDS reports the global HIV and AIDS statistics as follows. 39.9 million people globally are living with AIDS. An estimated 1.3 million people became infected with HIV in 2023. Testing and early intervention enables 5.5 million babies to be born HIV-free to parents living with HIV. Ending the HIV epidemic starts with knowledge. Whereas December 1st is World AIDS Day, a time to celebrate the many lives saved by HIV prevention and treatment programs, it also serves as a reminder that we all must do more as individuals, communities, and as world citizens to fight the spread of HIV and AIDS. Therefore, the Yuma County Board of Supervisors proclaims the day of December 1st, 2024 to be World AIDS Day and urge the public to participate in activities and the observance of this day to increase awareness and understanding of HIV/AIDS as a global challenge, and to continue to join efforts to prevent the further spread of HIV and AIDS.
Thank you, Supervisor Pancrase. And we have Diana Gomez from the Health Department.
Good morning, Chairman Portes, members of the board, Diana Gomez, Director of Public Health. Thank you so much for reading that and for your support throughout the years. The program, as you read, has made incredible strides, not just here locally, but nationally and across the world. There's a lot of initiatives that require collaboration. But the important thing, like with anything else, is prevention, and that starts with education and also ensuring access to testing. And as you read, testing and early access to testing can help, for example, an infected mother have a perfectly healthy baby. And so that's the kind of programming that we need to make sure people are aware about. If you get diagnosed, we have a program. There's the education prevention piece, but we also have a program that assists people once they've been diagnosed so that they can access treatment. It assists them with their medications. It's just an excellent resource. But again, the goal is always prevention. And I have the staff here from the program, if you guys will join me up here, just to recognize them and the hard work that they do every day to make sure they do outreach and help enroll people in the necessary medical program that they need.
I have one more comment, Diana, and the new facility, that the way it's going to be set up is that those people who are coming into the county health department for testing will have somewhat semi-private entrance and exit.
Yes.
So they can come and go and get tested without any
the stigma or the fear. A lot
Yes.
of people are, just hesitant to come in because of the privacy issue, especially the smaller the town, everybody knows each other. So we always try to do everything we can to preserve that privacy with any type of screening that we do. So yes, to your point, we're very excited about that.
Yes, so am I.
Thank you so much. So
We'll take a picture.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm great, thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, you guys look like a collection right Make sure Kelly has
Kind of sideways.
Oh, sideways, that's what it's. Yes, Thanksgiving.
No problem. All right, 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. No, so I used it after Thanksgiving. You guys laugh. Bye. I wanted to share.
County is very much invited.
Doesn't work.
Share this. Martine, I need one more thing to share about this. Our department was asked by the state of Arizona to participate in a program. Explain what it is that you guys got involved in. I want people to know.
So the state of Arizona, ADHS actually contacted us to do a video, which was an educational video presented on YouTube. Esmeralda and I both went to teach our patients or eligible clients to go ahead and register online for the program when they don't have access to linkage to care from a facility, like coming in for the stigma, or maybe even more rural counties like ours. So we went ahead and did our part in doing it in English and Spanish, and we were giving a script, and we were given makeup, hair.
Wow.
And they said that Yuma County was actually exceptional and was always talked about at ADHS. So we were very proud to represent.
And we are on YouTube educating
Yes.
folks.
On YouTube.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Moving on to item number 2, presentation of the mix with Yuma County by Yuma 77, the Yuma County Government Channel.
Welcome to The Mix. Yuma County's GIS Division celebrated GIS Day on Wednesday, November 20th at the Yuma County Main Library. The event showcased Geographic Information Systems technology, highlighting its applications and benefits for the public. Aimed at educating and inspiring visitors, the event drew library patrons and others curious about GIS.
Today is that we are here to showcase and educate the public about what GIS services are available to the citizens, but also to showcase the work that we do for the Yuma County departments and eventually how that makes it to the benefit of the public.
Organizers emphasize its role in local planning and services, fostering enthusiasm for the innovative technology. Yuma County introduced a new water conservation program in December of 2023 to enhance sustainability and preserve vital water resources. The program focuses on replacing traditional grass landscaping with drought-resistant exerscaping at 6 county facilities. The program includes a comprehensive water efficiency assessment of county buildings and the creation of county-wide water conservation plan. Educational materials and dedicated website will provide a resource for staff and the public promoting awareness. Officials say the program supports long-term conservation and strengthens regional water resilience. The Yuma County Board of Supervisors has officially canvassed the 2024 general election results. On Election Day, 9 vote centers were available with in-person turnout reaching 11,121 voters and 57,789 casting early ballots. For complete election results, visit yumacountyaz.gov. Now we're going to toss it over to Oscar, who is behind the scenes with the finance department.
Hey, what's up, Arlene? Okay, I'm at it again with an exclusive VIP look into Yuma County's finance department. So today, talking more about finance, I have the Chief Financial Officer, Humberto de Castillo, to give us more of an inside look. How are you doing?
All right, fine. Thank you, Oscar.
Good. Thank you for having us within your department. It's great. Briefly, first off, can you tell us a little bit about how the finance department services Yuma County?
Okay, sure. We have two types of customers. We have internal customers, which are all the departments within the county, and we have external customers. We take care of our internal customers by providing very good quality service. One of our main concerns or goals is to provide an excellent customer service. And we take care of our external customers by having them come here to our offices and pay their bills, but specifically for the community members that live in the improvement districts. We do encourage every customer to maybe give us a call or log in. We'll walk you through, we'll help you pay your bill online so you don't have to come.
Can you tell us a little bit about what's included within the finance department? Who works here?
Okay. We have 6 divisions. I'll start with accounts payable. What does accounts payable do? We pay the bills. We pay all the invoices for everything that has to do with the county's operations and also the big projects you see out there that the county's working on. We also have financial reporting. Financial reporting is in charge of overseeing all the expenditures and revenues that the county is receiving and also executing. They are responsible for registering and reporting. Then we have payroll. Payroll basically is in charge of paying all of the close to 1,500 county employees on a bi-weekly basis. We also have a division in charge of compliance. So there is a process, there's a set of rules that we need to follow, state, federal, and also our own internal controls in regards to the process of purchasing. It's a strict process, a process that we need to follow a lot of rules and regulations. We have the general ledger too. General ledger is overseeing that every transaction in the county is registered correctly to the right account. The last department, that would be the CFO's department or direction administration. It has many names. So by the end of each fiscal year, our responsibility is to close the books and create the annual comprehensive financial report, or ACFR. That is a report where we put all the financial statements of what happened during the fiscal year. From this report, we have another one that's called PAFR, and that's the Popular Annual Financial Report. And both reports are in our website, so I also encourage you to visit our website and take a look at the reports.
A lot of good information. It sounds like there's a lot of responsibility that takes place within the operations here in your department. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anytime.
Okay, Arlene, there you have it. A behind-the-scenes VIP look into Yuma County's finance department. Back to you.
Thank you, Oscar, for that amazing information. Now, a big shout out to Yuma County Supervisor Lynn Pancrazy, who was unanimously elected president of the County Supervisors Association at the board's November 14th meeting. Pancrazy, a former state legislator, will lead the association in 2025, focusing on collaboration with lawmakers to strengthen Arizona's 15 counties. Pancrazy expressed excitement about the role, emphasizing teamwork to address key county issues statewide. Arizona's first Gold Star Memorial Byway marker was dedicated on November 7th at Foothills Community Park, honoring fallen service members and their families. The marker, donated by the Yuma Orchid and African Violet Society, was part of a ceremony that celebrated the sacrifices of U.S. Armed Forces members and the resilience of Gold Star families. Before we go, we have some holidays coming up, and most county offices will be closed. Most county offices will be closed on December 25th for Christmas Day and January 1st for New Year's Day. County offices and services will resume regular hours on the following business days. Hope you all have a safe and enjoyable holiday. Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Mix. If you'd like to watch past episodes, visit our webpage at yumacountyaz.gov under the VOD section. We'll see you next time.
And yes, congratulations again.
Thank you very much. A lot of work, and I'm gonna need everybody's help with the legislative summit, okay? It comes to Yuma.
Moving on to consent calendar, the following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and accepted by one motion with no separate discussion. Unless a board member so requests, in that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. And I have
Number 4.
item 1 through 20. And
Mr. Chairman, if you have no problem, I'll take out item number 4 and item number 14.
item number 4, 14, and number 7. I'll pull out number
Motion is going to be to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 4, 7, and 14.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second to approve items 1 through 20 with the exceptions of 4, 7, and 14. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we have item number 4. Action to distribute $7,282 in community funding from the Kashan Indian Tribe to the Crossroad Missions.
Is there anyone here from the Quashan Indian Tribe? I mean, I'd just like to acknowledge the fact that they allow us to transfer this monies over to organizations that sort of meet their criteria. In this case, it's the mission, Crossroad Mission. So I just wanted to make sure that if they were here, they were recognized. The president of the Tribal Council, Joaquin, Nina Howe, Vice President, Councilmembers Virgil Smith, Gloria McGee, Donald Medard Jr., Zion White, and Jonathan Coating will be present to accept the check. Now this must be the other way, to award the check, to present the check to somebody. Oh, you're here. Oh, you're here. From the mission. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, then accept the check on behalf of the Quashans here.
And there we go, perfect timing.
Making the entrance.
That's
Okay.
perfect
Well, we
timing.
just want you to know that we are very, very, very grateful that the Quashan tribe
Yeah.
allows us to distribute the funds, and we think that your organization is more than deserving of help and assistance. So, Mr. Chairman, would you like to?
Yeah, no, go ahead. We
But-
wanted to thank you for the donation, and it's going to a good cause, Crossroad Missions, so.
Well, thank you very much for allowing us to
You're
do
welcome.
that.
Glad to be here this morning. Sorry, I was sitting next door watching on the.
Oh,
monitors.
didn't
Trying to
like it.
listen, but, yeah.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And I know the check should be somewhere in there, but I
Any-
guess the
any
money will
words,
come to
Cesar?
you.
On behalf of the Crossroad Mission, we really appreciate always the continuous support to the Crossroad Mission, and we use the money wisely. Thank you.
I'm glad, because I know that's some of our tribal membership does use it too, so we try to give out to some of the programs that some of our tribal members use. So we're glad to help.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. And then I'll make a motion. We approve item number 4 is presented.
I'll second it. There's a motion and a second.
May I make a comment?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I go to the drug court graduations, and I haven't been to one that somebody that's graduating hasn't thanked Crossroads Mission for help and for direction in getting them clean and sober. So,
Thank you.
yes, that's my only comment.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a motion and a second to approve item number 4 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Check's in the mail.
Thank you.
This is the perfect, this is the perfect moment to say it. You're
And
good.
thank the rest of the council for us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much for
you.
coming.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Item number 7, accept award from the Arizona Public Service Company, APS, corporate giving grant in the amount of $5,000 to be used for the 2025 Yuma County Career and Technical Education Day. And I know, we have someone.
Well,
from
I was
APS.
looking for Regina. I didn't see her, so.
Grants administrator at the county. Our community grant writer actually was the one that submitted the grant to APS for $5,000. This is actually the second year in a row that we received this grant, and so we appreciate this from the APS. And this grant is specifically for the Yuma County Career and Education Day. This is an event that the Public Works Department brings to the community, and I believe they're not here yet. They're in the other room, but the Public Works Department brings in students from around the Yuma County high schools. I believe this year they're inviting some junior high schools as well, and the event brings the different departments in Yuma County and provides information, insights about our departments and the careers that are in Yuma County. Last year we had, I believe, over 500 attendees between the students and the teachers and the providers. We had APS. They had also a lot of different entities or departments, like the Public Works Department. Oh, there they are. I would call them in so that they can provide a little bit more information. APS wasn't able to be here with us today, but we really appreciate their support. So we have Sam here with the Public Works.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I did bring a flyer that I can talk to you guys. Have an idea what the event's gonna entail. And we had a really good showing the last 2 years that we've been there, and we would just like to invite you all to come. This time around, we are expecting over 350 youth that are going to be present, and we are working with local agencies. We're going to have our law enforcement sheriff's division there, but we also invited Border Patrol, fire. We also invited the Arizona Highway Patrol.
Oh.
And so we're looking to have a really good turnout for law enforcement. We also invited our health division. Anvida Healthcare will be out there as well, just to provide information to youth in our community.
Well, no, I mean, we know that every year, as you show us pictures and videos of the event, you get a lot of students. So that's thank you for doing that, and hopefully our kids there that go attend and follow some of those careers.
Yes, that's our goal. So yes, thank you.
And I want to take the opportunity to thank Regina and Danny Ortega for their support.
Mhm.
They're always available. They're always there when you need them. And I just want to acknowledge that and let them know that we appreciate the grant and that it will be well used. And as you've shown in the flyer, it is an important step in our recruiting process and making sure that people see Yuma County as the end of the careers or the career beginnings. It's a nice place to work.
Mr. Chair, I've attended these in the past, and the kids learn so much about a variety of career opportunities that some of them probably never even considered. And the representatives that they send to your CTA career day really make a difference. They really encourage the kids, and it's, it's like APS when they bring people who are pole people and they teach them how to climb poles and, or whatever, and work with electricity. It's really, it's very, 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 very educational.
Thank you. Yes, our number one goal is for them to get a lot of hands-on activity with different divisions. So that leaves a mark in, all the students that attend. And so if you guys have a chance to be out there, we'll be more than happy to have you. We'll have some burgers for you guys.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to we accept item number 7 as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item number 7 as presented. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you. Item number 14, Sheriff's Office authorized the sheriff to purchase 6 new 2025 full-size 4x4 trucks from Alexander Ford based on proposals submitted for the amount of not to exceed $275,000.
And I brought this up because we always telling the sheriff or anybody to buy local as much as possible so we can keep some of these benefits local. It's nice to me to see that they found a way to get those trucks the 6 new trucks from Alexander Ford. So I wanted to highlight the fact that there's an effort that is shown in this, that we're trying to, as much as possible, buy local, which is what we emphasize to people. You don't have to go to Phoenix, you don't have to go to San Diego, you can get it here. If you just try hard enough, you may be able to get it cheaper, if not more reasonable, at a more reasonable price. So I just wanted to thank the Public Works Department and thank Alexander Ford, because they submitted a proposal that was good enough. Okay, so my motion would be to accept item number 14 as presented.
I'll second it. There's a motion and a second to approve item number 14 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to discussion and action items. The board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. Item number 1, Financial Service and Grant Administration. Item A, presentation and update on the current ARPA projects, allocation and status. Item B, discuss and possible action to provide additional guidance and direction regarding the approval of changes to the existing allocation as allowed by the most recent guidance from the U.S. Treasury and the following recommendation from the Yuma County Attorney's Office. Good morning.
Chairman, good morning, members of the board. Humberto del Castillo, Chief Financial Officer, and Diana Veloz, Community Planning Manager. We are here to present this morning the third update of the ARPA projects. We're going to present 3 tabs of this spreadsheet, and I would like to start with a brief reminder of our timeline. So the first date there is December 31st of 2024. This is very close, and we need to have all of our projects obligated by that date. The second date there, the important date, is September 30th of 2026. That is only for surface transportation and Title I projects. We have another deadline that's a little months further ahead. That's December 31st, 2026, and that would be to fully expend by that date all of the rest of the ARPA projects. Okay, the next tab, let me talk a little bit about what I want to show you in this tab and what columns or what numbers we should focus on. So here on the top portion of the spreadsheet, we have the total amount considering the 2 categories. We have revenue loss, where we can only spend $10 million, and eligible projects for a total of $41.5 million. On the eligible category, we can spend $31.5 million. So here on the bottom line, you'll see that threshold. And these 2 columns right here, column F, is the last update you received on July 1st. Column G is the new update we're presenting today, considering all of the things that happened, the recommendations from the County Attorney's Office, and projects that came in under or over the budgeted amount. This bottom line right here, line 33, column G, tells us that we have $31.4 million obligated or compromised to that, considering all these changes. That leaves us a balance of $54,000. Okay, now we're going to talk about each project specifically. First, we have the Middle Mile project, which is at a 66%. And if we consider all the projects or the several projects surrounding that big project, we have a total of 56% status or percentage completed. TACNA is 100% completed. Lab Phase 2, 100% completed. Orange Grove, Rancho Mesa Verde is 2% completed. Somerton Housing Department, we have completed that 100%. Sewer and Water is 100% completed. Tree Valley Ambulance, also 100%. And we have these projects here, which I am going to focus and talk a little bit. So let me take this filter. And now we are only seeing the projects that had a change between your last update on July 1st and today. This column right here, column K, is going to tell us if we have additional funding or if we sent that funding to somewhere else. So in summary, if we have more money on that project or less funds. So on Orange Grove, Rancho, Mesa Verde, we had the project come in at 1.3 million and it was budgeted at 1.5. So this means we have $177,000 in a positive variance there. So again, we're just seeing the variances on this column. On this project right here, 6 between 33E and 35, engineering department requested additional $100,000. So we have a negative variance here. Low flow crossing phase 2 came in $211,000 higher than expected. So we have a negative variance right there. The HVAC project came in lower than expected. So we had savings of 174. This one, health services. We removed this project from the eligible category. You'll see it further down here. You'll see it as a savings here, but we're going to see it on the revenue loss section or category as a negative variance. The next one on the list is the safe house, and we are looking at a negative variance here as a result of the county attorney's recommendation of moving that project from the revenue loss category to the eligible category. And same thing here for Technofire. This project is complete, but it was removed from the revenue loss and sent up here to the eligible category. All of these adjustments leave us with a remaining balance of $54,000, which we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about it, and we're seeking for guidance and direction of the board of where to allocate these monies. And in this short time frame that we have, that is our limit date is December 31st. Where are we going to allocate that money so we don't have to return any funds to the treasury? Okay, that concludes this part right here, the eligible category. Moving down here, we're going to start with this line item, Yuma County Revenue Loss Standard. This item is for the jail district for the maintenance of effort. Last fiscal year, the expenses of the maintenance of effort, which we are required by law, Yuma County is required by law to support this effort of the jail district, was $7.8 million. We only budgeted $7 million here, and the general fund is going to take care of the difference of the other $800,000. Administration costs were originally budgeted at $50,000, and we are proposing or recommending it to be $70,000, but that has to do with the third project here, support, promote ERAP 1 and 2. We are taking this off the list, and the difference, or not the difference, but part $20,000 of the 50 considered is coming up here. And right now, Diana Veloz is going to talk a little bit more of detail of why we did this change. TACNA, we had this project here in the revenue loss category, but now in this column, we are not seeing the project because we moved it up here. So that's just why you're going to see the project, and we have the savings. Historic documents preservation, this project is showing a 75% percentage completed, but basically we touched base with project managers and staff, and it's near completion. We are just waiting for the next invoice. So this column, let me take a step back. This column H, the actual amounts, is considering all of the invoices. So we have paid. The dollar amount you're seeing there is because we received an invoice, it went through our financial process, and it's already been paid. Moving on to the next one, health services, eligible equipment. On the last update you received, you didn't see this project on the revenue loss, but now due to recommendations, we see it on this category. So we'll see a negative variance here. Again, the Title I Safe House project was seen on this category on the last update. We removed it, so it has a positive variance. And finally, the building demolition project. You saw this project on your last update, and there was not a parking lot considered. As of now, the parking lot went out to bid, and we have a dollar amount. I think this is the amount, $144,000. But it did come under the budgeted amount, so we have savings of $85,000. In summary, for the eligible category, we have $54,000 available that we have to allocate by December 31st. And same thing for revenue loss. We have $131,000 for a total of $185,000. Before I move on to the last tab where we did research, and because of the short time frame we talked with project managers, department heads on where would be the best project to allocate these resources. I would like to ask the board if they have any questions on specific projects that we talked about this morning.
I have a question. In allocation, you have until December 31st. You have advised these people, whomever they may be, that they need to have maybe something committed by then, right? Because if time flies in December, and I think we have 2 meetings in December. One is the 17th.
Obligated by December.
Yeah, obligated, not spent, but obligated. Yeah, well, the problem is if they don't obligate the money to do something, they'll be left behind, and there won't be a chance to correct that after December 31st. So time just flies, and I just wonder whether those people realize that, or whomever they may be, they realize that they need to speed up the system, they need to speed up the process, get those commitments done.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Diana Veloz, Community Planning Administrative Director. That is right. If we don't get that funding allocated by December 31st, 2024, the money's gone. So one of the solutions that we're working with right now is we're creating an inter-office memorandum of understanding where we have the finance department and the director of the department that's still pending that funding. They're going to sign an MOU. That is considered obligation of that funding. So that's how we're going to be.
Got it. Okay, you answered the question. Thank you.
I believe that we have 2 projects that are not obligated right now, or the ones that call my attention are the Safe House and.
Those are still under pending contract, but they will be signed before that.
Yeah, which is Safe House, really.
Which is the Safe House and I think it's the Safe House.
The San Luis Safe House.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew they need to have something committed before then. So we don't run up till the end of the year and then try to get them to understand just how crucial that is. And an internal memorandum of understanding, if it's enough, it can be done. But purchases and transfers and all that stuff during the month of December are relatively tough to do. People aren't thinking much, coming close to Christmas.
Thank you. So yes, that's very important. And right now on our radar, we have the Safe House and this one. So
The health services equipment. And we took them out of the bottom section, revenue loss, and put them up to approved eligible because all we had to do is have them contracted by the 31st. We don't have to have them completed by the 31st, correct?
I think the problem was the process, the acquisition process of the federal government moves really slow. So that could be done in 3 days, 4 days, the commitment, the signature of all contracts. But the process that the federal government has may take longer than that. That's why we're getting into a crucial time where the commitment needs to be made, even if it's an internal MOU. But something needs to be to assure that that commitment has been made. I don't know if the purchase.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. That's what Diana said.
That's what the MOU will do.
Chairman Fortes, Supervisor Pancrezi, that is why we're doing the MOU, correct? And then we are trying to have as many contracts open to, the ones that are currently open, we're trying to have them make sure that if there's savings somewhere else, that we're going to be able to move that funding over and with no issues. If there is savings in another project, so we won't move that.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you. So the next tab is to ask for your direction and consider this recommendation so we can allocate 100% of the resources and don't return any funding. This first section right here is the current project status, and this list is what we're proposing to increase. So we have the Highway 95 mill and fill project, which is 1.5 from the eligible category. We have the maintenance of effort for the jail district, which we budgeted $7 million. And then we have a new project right here, which Diana will give you additional detail on what that project is about and what it's for. Our recommendation, again, based on the short time frame we have and the type of project where you can say, hey, who can execute $12,000 or an X amount of funding source fast and obligated fast. We talked to Frank in engineering, and the proposal was Highway 95. We can extend that project with no problem and allocate this monies right here. The second item is the maintenance of effort. Since the difference between the $7 million and the $7 million we originally budgeted from revenue loss is going to be absorbed by the general fund, we are proposing to allocate the monies here in this line. So this, in other words, this is going to absorb a hit from the general fund in $131,000.
Okay.
And I'm going to let Diana talk about this new project for $41,500.
Chairman Fortes, members of the board, this DRS LLC, they're a consultant that helps manage the ARPA contracts, ARPA grants. They can look at your projects as a whole just to make sure that you're in compliance with auditing purposes. As I was saying, the open contracts that we have right now, we need to make sure that we're able to move some money around in there. They'll be able to help us get the right wording for those things to happen. They're also going to be able to look over, do an overview on all our projects to make sure we're in compliance with the auditors.
So you're basically asking for extra money to bring in a compliance of basically an officer or
It's
to
a
the
second
group.
pair of eyes.
Yeah,
Make
to make
sure
sure
that
that
we don't-
everything is met. That's pretty smart, because anything we messed up, we don't notice. It will
Until it's too
We'll
late.
end up paying for it. So bringing in a compliance company or a company that works on compliance is really smart. Then the cost is very low and the results are very good. If you get them to see something you haven't seen, I think that the only thing I think that we should have done that from the beginning. We should have done that a long time ago. Yeah.
Absolutely, we should have done that at the beginning.
Because people like you, your time, you're spending a lot of time on this now, but it's an important sum of money, but bringing in someone from the beginning would have made it a lot easier to determine what could and could not be done.
Especially with all the rules changing and all the guidelines coming in.
Especially with the administration coming, you need to make sure.
Mr. Chair?
Yes. go ahead.
Question. Will they be able to find all that stuff by December 31st? Will they be able to make sure that we're in compliance by the date?
Chairman Fortes, Supervisor Pancrazi, if we actually obligate that funding to this company, they have till December 31st of 2026 to do
To
all
get
this.
it up, to make sure that we're all.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. Mhm. I know.
That's what your recommendations are, right? You're recommending we spend $12,510 on the Highway 95 project, to spend it as much as we can. And then the Yuma County revenue loss, you're suggesting that we take a hit. Well, not much of a hit, but a revenue loss. And then use the what's remaining of the $50,000 almost on a grant management assistant.
Yes, that is correct.
Mr. Chair, what we're doing is taking that 131,897 and putting it back into the general fund because we've already taken it out and now we need to put it back in through this process. Good, so we don't lose it. Okay.
It's got the revenue loss.
Yes.
I'm kind of, where that money was given to Yuma County, not to pay someone else to do or to tell us how to use it or to tell you you shouldn't do this. Or I think by this time we should have known.
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman.
It's just hard for me to give someone else money because if this step here or that is coming from staff, I've always said, and Ian knows it, if we want to continue to go on the path of having employees take an extra step and get paid more, this is the wrong path. Because I'll say, well, from now on, let's hire, but no more raises. So to me, it's just hard to give $41,000 to someone just to tell us, no, you should do this. Because they're going to tell us what, I guarantee you they're going to advise, recommend how we should do it. Or, it's just hard for me.
I agree with you.
But the rules change so many different times.
They've been changing since the beginning.
Huh?
They've been changing since the beginning. We're here, we're almost done. Just allocating the money.
But what if we didn't allocate it correctly and they say, sorry, you didn't do it right, and they take it back? Then we've lost more money than this 41.5. We've lost millions if we didn't put it in the right column at the right time.
Do you think that's grants or the department, their fault, or is it the ones that asking for the money or are going to, if they're not doing it right, then it's their fault? I mean, I think this is a two-way lane here, road. Wherever's the money going or we allocate it to, they need to also step up and say, well, we want all that money, so they got to start helping. I mean, if it's just you're giving them the money and it's if we get it, we use it. If not, I just, it's hard for me to see just giving $41,000 to someone else.
Chairman Cortez, I understand exactly what you're saying. I don't think it's anybody's fault. I think Supervisor Pankowski is correct when she's saying the rules change so much. There was guidance coming out every 6 months. There's new guidance. We try to follow it as much as we can, and we try to get advice from our legal team as well. But this is a giant beast. It is an enormous amount of guidance, an enormous amount of requirements to follow. That is fine. If we don't want a second pair of eyes on it, understandable. It is late in the game, like you're saying, because the obligation period is almost upon us. But in the long run, we still have another year. We still have till December of 2026 to be able to.
So it's actually 2 years.
Some of the guidance. Sorry. Yes.
2 years.
2026. Yes.
Yeah.
Two years.
So
I'm sorry.
2 years.
Yes, absolutely. 2 years. To try and get into compliance as much as, if there is an issue, they are just going to be there for guidance. They're not going to make us do anything. We don't have to spend the entire 41.5 on that project. We can reduce that. They could be a reduced rate. We can delete some items.
I don't want to sound contrarian to everybody, but the only one here that has experience in receiving federal grants is me, and compliance has been an issue all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And because people do not understand what compliance means. It means that when you get a grant, you have to comply with whatever it comes with it over time, which means to me that it's never too late to have a compliance officer look at this. To me, this is just compliance. This is just making sure that we don't mess up, because if we mess up on any of this, the county taxpayers and us will be responsible for it. This is not just money they give you to spend on anything you want. This is money they give you to spend on what they want you to spend it on. and we chose the items that we want to, but we can't choose how we, I mean, look, you guys, when have you had $40 million to spend that you were told, okay, spend it and don't worry about it? This is not one of those. This is one of those that requires, it requires compliance. It requires a lot of work afterwards to make sure that you didn't mess up along the way. So to me, this is probably the 40,000, the best spent 40,000 that you would have on this project, just making sure we don't mess up.
I'm with
So,
Tony.
you know, it's just difficult to see because we always think that employees should be able to handle this, but this is new to you too. This is not like you had a long time to get accustomed to ARPA. ARPA came and said, "Hey, here's the money, and spend it." And we're stuck in a situation where if we don't spend it right, we'll end up paying it. That's how it works. So to me, spending this $40,000 is, compared to the $40 million they're going to be reviewing, it's almost minimum. And it's something that should have been done a long time ago. That we agree, but it's something that should be done at any time that you notice that some of these rules are changing all the time, and you find out a month later that you needed to do this and that, and it may be too late. We're getting up to December 31st, which is the deadline. Then after that, we need to talk compliance, and that to me is critical in making sure that everything is successful. Until we're done, we're not done.
And my thing is your interpretation of this change and their interpretation of this change, and you can email somebody and you don't get another email back for 2 weeks from them, from the federal government, and so you're sitting there for 2 weeks thinking that you interpreted it correctly when you didn't interpret it correctly, and they want their interpretation was different than yours, and so that you have to go back and try and fix it, but with all the deadlines, it's almost impossible. With a company that does nothing but do that, I mean, making sure that they have direct lines, phone numbers and direct lines and direct contact with the ARPA fund directors who are actually distributing that would make a huge difference. So,
Supervisor Pankowski, absolutely, that is very right. Our interpretation might not be their interpretation, but we went ahead and interpreted because we had to move forward with the project.
Right.
Now, if that's not a correct interpretation, I would like to know to be able to do some.
and you lose those funds.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Do they assume the liability then?
They do not assume the liability, no.
So if they're wrong, we still eat it?
If they're wrong, I think if there's a discrepancy, it would be something that would go to our legal department, and we would all be involved to make
Do
sure.
they have errors and omissions?
I'm sure they do, yes.
So.
We went through the bidding process, through the RFP process.
This is Supervisor Portes, Supervisor Reyes. This is under 40,000, under 41,000, under 50,000, which is part of a service contract, and we can contract without going out to procurement.
Mr. Chairman, just my 2 cents. I had the same exact reaction when Diana brought this to me last week. But then after further discussion and, understanding better for me the complexities of reporting and compliance, I think it probably is a wise move to just make sure, just as Supervisor Reyes and Pancrazi expressed, make sure those T's are crossed and I's are dotted and have that second pair of eyes for insurance that we're reporting and complying properly.
Mr. Chairman, I see where you and Supervisor Lines are coming from, and I can see where Supervisor Reyes and Pancrazi is coming from. If this was general fund money, I would say no, but this is ARPA funds. So it's money that it's not coming from the general fund. It's grant money, more or less, overseeing grants. And how many times have we done this in the past using that type of scenario? So that's just my 2 cents on it.
Oh, well.
Better safe than sorry.
To me, it's just, it's still our money. It's still the county's money. It's, I see it as a, general fund money because it was given to us. And here we're giving, it's funny, we can't do something else for the county, spend that money, but we can give it to someone else to oversee us. Boy, that's a good one, right? From the feds, if that's the case. And what guarantees us that we're not gonna see them here again, at least one time, tell us, oh, we did this, or we need to look it back and more things, or are we gonna see them?
Chairman Portes, we don't usually see them. We won't. They probably won't come to Yuma County.
Okay, but, well, you're gonna talk on behalf of them. If they send you something, then you're gonna come and say, well, we need to do this change. What is that? Is there a guarantee?
Well, right now, Chairman Portes, I'm looking at it more as a compliance issue with our current contracts, so we can be on track with those contracts, because the completed ones are already complete.
How many are not completed? Is there only 2?
No, there's
Those.
The ones that are ongoing, obviously, those ones are, they've been going, so I think we've been good so far. So.
There's about 12 open contracts in the eligible category. There's probably 4 more down in the revenue loss. We do have quite a few projects still open.
Well, we had the experience of the HALO project. That's one experience of compliance that I think should teach us that you better watch it before you actually do anything with this type of this type of monies are not just free monies. You have to follow certain guidelines, and the federal government kept changing them every 6 months. So we should have had these people on board at the beginning, just to make sure that we were spending this grant money. Look, your department has grown extensively, and you're doing a great job. But how would you know if you don't have anyone that's had experience with this before, whether you did a good job or not? So to me, compliance, look, in my particular experience, I just hired a compliance officer. It cost me almost $80,000 just to hire a compliance officer. You're contracting a firm for $40,000 to serve you throughout this whole process. To me, that's money well spent. Understanding the issue of compliance, it's money well spent. Because anytime you have somebody looking at it that is an experienced person on this, will bring a new set of eyes that you haven't thought about before. So to me, and if you pay it with the money that comes with the grant, we had some extra money, it's even better, because not only are you making sure that everything is done correctly by an extra set of eyes, but you're actually paying them with the same money that they're monitoring. So to me, this is a win-win situation. I don't see the pitfalls. You can train someone in the county to do compliance this quickly, this fast on this issue. You can't. For government, this is pretty fast-paced for government.
Do we need a motion, or what do we need to get it going?
Yeah, we need action. We need action. So it'll be those
12,510 and
the 41?
12,041 and the 131,897.
And the 131?
897 goes back into our account, yeah.
On a side note, Frank just reached out right now, and he said the 12,000 might not be enough to extend the project for 95, so we might have to look for another option within the eligible category.
Frank, you want to say something, you better step up.
I'd rather pay for roads.
41.5 for roads instead?
Well, whatever they needed to extend.
Chairman Portes, members of the board, Frank Sanchez, Director of Engineering. Originally, when we talked about this project, I thought there was a little bit more money available where we might have been able to extend those pavement limits. If we're looking to extend pavement, 12,000 isn't going to do anything for us. So we can look at upgrading some signs, roadway signs out there. But if the board thinks there's a better use for that 12,000, that you can go ahead and allocate it somewhere else. But if you want to allocate it to Highway 95, we will put it to use.
Right, so a motion?
So I'll ask for him separately. Surface, the Highway 95, Millen Field, County 22nd to County 17th. I'll take a motion for that one.
I'll make a motion, we approve that.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the Highway 95, Millen Field, County 22nd to County 17 for $12,500. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Yuma County revenue loss standard, 10 million, so it'll be 131,897. Is there a motion?
I'll move
Second.
to accept.
There's a motion and a second to approve Yuma County revenue loss standard for 131,897. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Yes.
One opposed?
Now for the revenue loss.
Wait, he said yes.
For
131.
That's the money.
I'm
that-
sorry, I
Yes.
approved that one.
Yeah,
sorry.
it's the other one.
Yeah.
Motion carries. The DRS LLC ARPA Grants Management Assistant for 41,500.
Mr. Chairman, before we go on that one, quick question. Where would we go with it instead? We've got to commit it. We've got to get the money committed. What else would we do with it?
Highway 95?
That's already approved at 12,500. That's what
could
it
put it
is
in
first. Then we approved the second one.
Do it.
Mhm.
That, I mean, if you can't do anything with 12,000, you're not gonna be able to do much with 50. On a paving project, that'd be like sneezing in the wind.
That's like 2 feet.
Yeah, like I said, it's not realistic to use it for paving. If the board wants us to take a look at and maybe replace all the signage along Highway 95 within those project limits, we can definitely do that.
But that would be up to you. But I mean, I immediately thought, well, 12,500 is not too much. I mean, in terms of paving, that's a $7 million project right there. So the only thing you can do with such a small amount of money, whether it's 1,250 or 550,000, it's just look at the signage, look at some the striping or some sort of protection in the middle, something that separates it. But you can't do much with either except 12,500 or 50,000. And that's why you're suggesting. And I think that, again, without getting into a lot of arguments, I think that we just give you 1,250 because we have to commit it. We have to commit the whole amount. And the 41,500 is so much as we can commit because that's what they'll charge us. But if they charged 100,000, I would be more than willing to commit that 100,000. They only charge 41,500. They won't do much on the Highway 95 project. And that's in my district and Supervisor Portia's district.
Can I?
Yes, Mr. Reyes. Yes, that is correct. And at this point, so late in the game, either we look for items like sign, striping, to spend that money, or we give it back, because that going down the list, that we are not finding any projects where we can allocate. That's why we're looking for your direction, and the board's direction at this point.
And I think the 2 items are approved. Let's get on to the third one, because if not, we're going to be talking about all the other 2 again. We just approved the other 2, so let's just talk about the third one, which is the consulting fees, the 41,500.
I move that we accept the new DRS LLC ARPA Grants Management Assistance.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to accept Grants Management Assistant for 41,500. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Motion carries 3-1.
2.
Oh, 3-2.
A little late for the, yeah.
I didn't count down.
Didn't hear you say anything.
You're
Well,
bad.
3-2. Let's move on, otherwise you're gonna spend a lot of time on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Item number 2. Budget. Tony?
Morning, Chairman Portress, members of the board. Tony Struck, the budget director, and I'm here to give you the brief presentation on the first quarter budgetary update. We're going to look at how we compare historically. We're going to look at actual versus the the budget and benchmark. We're going to touch on sales taxes a little bit. We have some information on that and how we're doing the current year. We're going to look at the expenditures, some historical and some variances versus benchmark.
Sorry.
The first slide shows that our current year first quarter revenues are about 19.6 million, fairly flat to last year of about 19.4 million. Some categories doing better than or above budget, property taxes, the vehicle license taxes. Other item, and we also have a one-time payment reimbursement from FEMA of some monies that previous CFO had requested reimbursement for, some overtime dollars, PP&E reimbursement, those type of things, almost $500,000 in reimbursements that we received that were applied for a number of years back. Indirect costs are lower compared to last year, and that's due to departments electing to have their indirect costs allocated either quarterly or monthly throughout the year compared to prior year. And I'll talk a little bit more. State shared sales taxes and the county sales taxes are actually below prior year, but just slightly. Looking at how we compare to the total budget, we would expect normally the revenues and summer months being kind of the lower collection months for property taxes and the sales taxes. We're only expected we have 16.1% collected. The budget what we expected is 15.7, so we are slightly above where we thought we would be. Categories like the vehicle license tax, as I mentioned, is above the benchmark. We're at 24.7% of the budget. Was the benchmark, we actually at 27.3. State share sales taxes were slightly below where we expected to be. You can see the 2 months here, we expect 22 and 21%, a lower amount during the summer months. So we're slightly below what we expected. Both of those categories. Licenses and permits, we've seen that building permits are lower for the first quarter compared to prior year. Other than that, this $524,000 is that FEMA reimbursement that I mentioned. They're going to look into that. The full amount got deposited in general fund. Some of that may apply to the health district, the reimbursement. Just on projections, back when we did the budget,
Tony, can you go back to the Tony, can you go back to the general fund and explain to me payment in lieu of taxes?
Payment in lieu of taxes, that's the PILT that we receive. We always usually receive that in June.
Yeah, that's
so
right. Okay.
We wouldn't know what that amount would be.
We don't know what that is going to be.
June.
Okay. I knew I recognized it. I just couldn't put it because it
explain a
didn't say
little bit more
PILT.
if you want to. PLT, it's payment in lieu of taxes because in the western states, most of the western states have a lot of federal land. Yuma only has like 90 or 89% of private, 11% of private property. So there's no way to tax federal land. So instead of taxing it,
I know.
they send us a payment in lieu of tax.
I know what
And the
it's for.
amount- I had a discussion with the chairman here where the discussion was whether the new administration was even going to look at that as a source of payment. For years I've been saying we shouldn't depend on it every year, but every year it happens.
It's a year in and year out.
And Mr. Chairman, just to add to that, this is one of the board's longstanding federal priorities to have permanent funding of PILT, because as Tony said, we find out so late in the game if we're going to get it or not. We don't even know, and our budgeting is already in process. So it really would be helpful if the federal government made that a permanent funding source for us.
I think that's one of the things we ought to focus now when we
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Back in, we rely on JLBC, the Joint Legislative Budget Committee, to provide forecasts for us specifically for this state shared sales taxes, but it also kind of applies to our county sales taxes as well. We budgeted a 3.3% increase over prior year for the current year. Currently, JLBC is saying that this current year is going to be 3.1%, and that kind of goes with what we've seen in the state shared sales taxes for the first quarter. they're very optimistic about 26, 27, and 28, getting back up closer to the 4% per year. So this is the transition year, I think, between the CPI kind of leveling off and then things starting to reestablish going forward. So that's what they're looking at currently. On the sales taxes, this is kind of a busy slide, but this top row, the purple one here, that's how I've allocated the budget of what we expect to receive for state shared sales taxes, and that's using like a 3-year average over the past years. This green line here, so we were slightly below budget for July. We were above quite a little bit in August, and then we had a drop in September. Last year, they had the state made a correction to distribution from use taxes over to into the state shared bucket, and we had a big bump in July. So I would have expected that our July numbers would have went down anyway. This one here makes us be a little bit more cautious and see how things are going to go, especially as we move into October and November, December, when typically we see the revenues start picking up. County sales taxes, again, the purple line here is the budget, based on an average. We ended up just slightly below budget the first in July, above budget in August, and then we took a drop in September, and I'll explain that on one of the next slides of what happened. Retail, which represents about 57% of our taxes collected. Sales have stayed above prior years. In fact, started very strong in July and August, just slightly below in September. So that one is one that we kind of focus on because it's one of the biggest components, or the biggest component of our collections. The remote sales, this one here still increases, has been increasing over time over the last, since it was implemented back in 1920. And then when you combine the two, which represents about 64% of our total sales tax collections, you can see for the year to date, we're above where we were in the prior couple years. So that's the positive. The thing that I'm trying to dig down and figure out what happened, I've reached out a little bit to ADOR to find out, Department of Revenue to find out what happened, but the contracting prime, we were lower than we had been in July. We kind of picked up a little bit in August, but then they must have made a correction where we actually had a negative 55,000 in collections for the prime. So that must be a 1 or 2 years maybe correction. Don't understand what it is yet.
Tony, do we collect taxes on our own projects?
That's the other thing I want to find out when something's changed.
Because if we contract it out, or if cities or counties or state contract it out and they don't pay a sales tax, then there will be a lot of work being done, but very little revenues from it. Because we don't pay taxes, that means that there's a lot of federal work. I mean, there's federal work at YPG, there's federal work at the Marine Corps Air Base, there's federal work at County 5. But if we don't pay taxes, they don't pay taxes, it's not going to show up. This is, I think, only private contractors.
Right.
So there's a lot of work,
yeah,
but most of it is federal, state, or county.
Well, that was a big adjustment if you think about.
That's a big adjustment. I didn't expect to see that drop that fast.
170, so.
You haven't been to the foothills lately.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's a lot of work. I hope it's not. That's kind of odd, but that adjustment's kind of odd because he went from a very positive to a very negative, which is kind of look at the amount. So
we never had it. Maybe it had to do with the solar projects or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something that's tax break. It's a tax break.
Don't get me started on solar.
This is, I just show you what we are on year to date on total through September. Typically we're still up here, so we're still very strong compared to historical. We did drop below last year, but still above where we were a couple years ago. So there's no reason to think that we're not going to stay on track this year at the current time. You can see retail going up. The contracting is due to that adjustment. Restaurant and bar sales still increasing over time. Utilities, we saw positive on that. Remote sales and personal property taxes. So it's really that construction component of it that's kind of, we got to keep an eye on and figure out what's going on with that. As far as expenses, let's see, $27.4 million in expenditures the first quarter compared to $25.4 million last year. That's about 8.3% increase. Personnel's over about $1.4 million. That's up slightly less than 10%. That would show the impact of the 3% scale adjustment, the compensation study implementation we did in the spring, and any new FTEs. That was a lower increase than we saw prior years. So that's not a bad thing. On the supplies and services, it was up at 11.4 million, is up about 7%. User license fees are the biggest driver of that increase, about 414,000. We've approved a number of cybersecurity things recently, and the one we had to do for the audit in order to do that. So we're seeing an increase in user license fees. The Altex, the Access long-term care went up 320,000. So that one is another thing that we consider on an annual basis. That keeps increasing. So that's primary, the increase on that. All the other categories very close to where we expected them. And then the benchmark for expenses, 29.4 million. We actually had 27.4, so we have a positive variance, most of it in personnel costs. There's still some departments that have some that contribute to most of that. The public defenders they're quite a ways below their benchmark. The sheriff's office, both juvenile detention and administration, and adult probation are still kind of having savings and maybe having a difficult time getting everybody hired. Supplies and services pretty much right where we expect to be, and we're just off by 1.8% from what we thought. So that's my presentation.
When you say off, you mean good, right? You mean below. We are below, this is the expenditures, right? So we're below the expenditures as we planned at 1.8%.
Chairman Reyes, yes. Or not Chairman, Supervisor Reyes.
Any questions for Tony? Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
When you find out what happened to the contracting money, you let me know, because that's still an interesting thing to see that go down that quickly, that fast.
Moving on to updates. Alejandro.
Chairman, members of the board, good morning. Alejandro Figueroa, Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs. And I'll start my presentation continuing with some numbers out here in the chart. Hopefully you don't mind. So on October 2024, general fund collections totaled $1.3 billion, which is an increase of 26.2% above October of last year. October revenue significantly exceeded projections, posting a $128 million gain above the enacted budget revenue forecast. Most of the state's October forecast gain was concentrated in individual and corporate income tax categories. And I could go on and talk more about it, but I think you've heard enough about our finances already. So I'll leave it at that, unless you want me to keep going.
That's not fair to you, is it?
It's not, but it is what it is.
I'm sorry, Alejandro.
So I'll move on to state issues as far as the new leadership in the House and how well represented Yuma County will be with this new House committees and their appointments. So we'll have representation at the International Trade Committee with Representative Pena and Representative Carbone on it. Representative Pena will be the vice chair. At the Rules Committee by Representative Michael Carbone, who's also the majority leader for the House. The Education Committee will have Representative Pena and Representative Sandoval. At the Land, Agriculture, and Rural Affairs Committee, we'll have Representative Pena vice chairing that committee, and Representative Mariana Sandoval being a ranking member of it. On the two committees will have representation is the Health and Human Services by Representative Cupper, and the Ways and Means Committee, which will be vice chaired by Representative Cupper and Representative Mariana Sandoval. I would also like to share with the board that County Engineer Frank Sanchez, Deputy Public Works Director Santos Guerrero, and I met with Representative Peña to brief her on different infrastructure projects, such as the US 95 Highway Mill and Fill project, the Avenue DE project, construction project, as well as PM10. Now, I just got a copy of the final CSA resolution, a housing resolution that Yuma County brought forward during the CSA summit. So I'll pass a physical copy of it to you, and I'll forward digital later on.
Thanks, sir.
So as I said, the County Supervisors Association of Arizona Board of Directors recently approved supporting the development of affordable housing through the extension of the state affordable housing tax credit and continued use of the state's housing trust fund. This resolution was an initiative proposed by Yuma County, which was discussed and voted on during the association summit in October, a couple months ago. Now, staff would like to give you a brief update on Yuma on the PM10 implementation plan, state implementation plan, and so what's currently happening with the state implementation plan. ADQ is developing a non-attainment state implementation plan for the Yuma PM10 non-attainment area under Part D of the Clean Air Act. Major elements of the plan will include an updated emissions inventory, source apportionment modeling, a model attainment demonstration, a strategy for possible exceptional events demonstrations, and enforceable PM10 control measures. ADQ has completed the emissions inventory and source apportionment modeling and is currently working on identifying a suite of control measures that will provide model attainment for the PM10 National Ambient Air Quality Standards and contingency measures that will go into effect if the area does not come into attainment by December 31st of 2027, or does not make as much progress as anticipated. Lastly, also working on reasonable controls and relevant sources for exceptional event demonstrations. During the spring of 2024, ADEQ solicited input from stakeholders on possible control packages to include in the state implementation plan. Since then, ADEQ has been working on making updates to the control measures based on that input. ADEQ plans to share an updated selection of possible control measures with stakeholders late in the fall or now winter of 2024. Subsequently, ADEQ anticipates sharing draft rule language with stakeholders for informal review and comments prior to the formal public comment period. The anticipated SIP submission date is dependent on the time it takes to identify a package of PM10 control measures that will satisfy the non-attainment area requirements under the Clean Air Act, to draft proposed rule language, and to complete the informal and formal public process for both the state level rulemaking and the SIP revision. If there are no unexpected delays, the SIP is anticipated to be submitted sometime in 2025. So initially we heard it was going to be January 2025. Now the date is up in the air still, and we are already behind schedule if we ask EPA about it. So hopefully we get that submitted by state sooner rather than later before the EPA catches on at it. And if the new federal administration decides that this is not a priority, it will be a benefit for Yuma County for the time being. Do you have any, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, do you have any comments or questions? I have both.
What are they going to make, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman and Alejandro, do you know what they're going to require? Have they got some priorities?
They're still working on those reasonable attainable control measures, RACM as they call them.
Yeah.
But I don't know if our friends from Department of Development Services.
Alejandro?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
We've asked this question before, but why aren't we pursuing more of the Chevron deference here, just because of the placement of the sensors and our location, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor, Vice Chairman Lyons, the response we keep getting from ADEQ is that they don't believe the SCOTUS decision on the Chevron deference has any impact on Yuma PM10. Now, we would have to go and ask an attorney for that.
Well, we have representation, don't we?
Yes, and hopefully we can hear back from the county attorney's office on this issue in the next couple of weeks to get back to you on it. But this is a possibility.
I've spoken to many people throughout the U.S. and they all insist that we do have standing in this particular situation to be able to push back on unattainable requirements that have been placed on us by the EPA just because of our location and the placement of the sensor.
And just so you know, Yuma County and other municipalities are working on the possibility of creating a coalition and hiring a law firm to look into this, give us some advice, legal advice on this issue. But that's work in progress right now. It's definitely something worth considering and looking into.
And hopefully the new administration just
working on it.
We'll acknowledge
holds
it.
down on the IPA and
From the litigation, et cetera, et cetera.
I do. What, have you guys agreed on anything? I haven't attended one in a while, and I know they're on the phone, but I haven't attended one in a while, so.
Chairman Porches, Supervisor Pancrazzi, Craig Sellers, Development Services Director. They're still working with the same range, so paving of roads, surfacing, looking at how they can stabilize disturbed areas and things like that, road sweeping and general dust control is what they're looking at for those things. They have not added in anything. They are looking at the costs associated with some of the items. They have not gone far enough into them to see what the total package would be so that we can provide comment on the impact and costs associated with those to help identify the reasonableness of those actions.
And they're not willing to take in MCAS and YPG and the fact that they're on federal land and we can't touch them? And
They're all within the PM10 area.
Pardon me?
Those areas are within the PM10 area.
Correct.
And so as a generator within that area, they feel that that is something that would need to go into that. Now
So the federal government wants us to tell the federal government what to do on federal installations?
we are stakeholders to ADEQ. ADEQ is speaking outside of these discussions to EPA about what is happening with the item. We are not speaking directly with EPA. This is a state implementation plan. And so that's where we're a stakeholder in this. We're not a writer of it. And so it's the state's responsibility to come up with the SIP. And they are working with, and have started meeting with EPA to go over these items.
Let's punt. We'll have new administration in a couple of months and then we can readdress.
Okay.
How much is the state really trying?
Well, they're gonna try now.
I mean,
Well, I had a conversation with Karen Peters regarding this, and she's the acting director, and so she feels like, again, Chevron deference really didn't have or come into play, and that we needed to address it. And I asked her specifically, how do you address the federal impact? How do you address the fact that we have a western and southern border that borders Mexico with the burden of trash?
The fact that you can control the air flowing by.
Right. How can you do that?
Or the freeway.
In an international boundary, and we are affected by all the contaminants that are coming in here, and then we can't restrict the fecal matter being brought into our county
From California.
because of interstate commerce clause. So basically they're telling us that they don't care, and all they want us to do is to step up and bow and acquiesce to whatever they tell us to do.
And we do bring up during the monthly meetings the concerns.
We bring it up, but how forceful are we? I mean, is our county attorney's office taking this to them and saying there's no way that we can achieve and attain this?
That's my question. Are we?
Or are we using BM10 to say, for example, that we're gonna start paving some of those streets that we haven't paved yet?
Right.
Or try
Are
to-
they gonna fund it federally? I mean, they want us to acquiesce to their demands, but they're not providing a solution, right? What are they gonna do? Build a humongous wall around the international boundary to keep the
Keep it
airflow
out.
from coming here?
If I'm listening
And
correctly.
will they allow us to tell California to not bring any more fecal matter by the truckloads? How many, 20, 30 truckloads a day?
That's what I mean when I say I think they understand the issue. They just want us to address the issue. And
How can we address it when we try to address it and they don't care? They tell us we can't.
We try to address it to the ADQ and that's it. We just work
I'm sick
generate.
and tired of talking about it. They want us to do something, we try to do something about it, and we're told we can't.
Okay, well then that's
But
what.
we have
that's
to
what
have
you
a
get.
SIP before we can apply for, we have to have a SIP before we can apply for.
This is what's wrong with government, right?
um,
This is why people hate government so much.
For an exemption.
This is a good example
That's the
of why
problem.
government doesn't work.
The way people want.
And I'm sick and tired of it. That's what my constituents tell me.
And you won't find more water trucks in any farming
Okay, so-
community than you do
Everybody's
in
pointing
Arizona.
fingers, and yet we
And
here
you
as a
mu-
county have the burden.
So all we can do is just continue the talks, and that's it.
Get to the conversation.
I mean,
Craig, you're doing a great job, because I've attended the meetings when you're talking.
Yeah, this
and
isn't
you
going
always
after
bring
you
up-
guys.
You and Alejandro, you and
Frustration.
We understand
George
that, and
always bring up the issues.
we understand the frustration that the board is having with this as well, because we feel a lot of the same frustrations with this. When we started this process in late 2000, early 2021, when they talked about rescinding our clean data determination, one of the first things out of people's mouths was, we understand that this is due to the exceptional events.
Yeah.
And we know that, if that were revoked, we'd be able to do something about this. But at the same time, you can't do that without the SIP in place. And so we submitted for the review process for the federal government to do that rescission, and said, this doesn't make any sense to us. Just invoke that ahead of it and recognize that this would solve the problem. But because of the SIP has to be first,
Mhm.
it's as if the exceptional events are a result of the conditions that are here.
No.
This is like water. Remember when water of you?
The exceptional events are not a result of what we haven't addressed, it's a result of our location.
But we only exceed.
And the inability to
Why
restrict
don't you put it up
crap
as a
from being
budget,
imported
as a
into Yuba
review
County
item,
from
we can review
California.
what actions we take next,
I
because this
agree.
one isn't supposed to be a review of what.
And having 10 hours to be able to disperse it. Anyway.
But is this a PM10 review? Is that what this is?
Just
That's
an
an update?
It was
Update
an
on what?
update, yeah.
Oh, an update on what?
Update,
Nothing has
annual update
happened.
of what's happened
Yeah.
the last
Well,
12
nothing.
months.
There could have been sort of summary. We have the same issues that we had when we started 20 years ago with PM10.
Right.
Now the new board.
But we're
is
only,
folding
we
down.
only
You
exceed,
had this for 10 years, 12 years.
we only exceed during those exceptional times, like when the wind blows out of from the west to the east, or when the wind blows from
Update,
Mexico
update.
this way, or from California and we get to Santa Ana. That's the only time we exceed.
You did this on
because
purpose,
within
didn't you,
town-
Alex? I know you did this on purpose. You just knew your report was going to be too short, so you brought him in, right? The APA situation has been with us for a long time, and I think all of us know the facts. But without a SIP, which is what they want now, and we can't go to the next step, which is complain about it. I think that SIP will explain this exactly what you just said and say it's not our fault, and then submit it, and then that's it. Then we argue we can't help it. What do you want? Ask for a suggestion on what to do.
Mhm. We could pave every road in Yuma and we'd still not comply on days that we're in exceedance, so.
But the compliance can be made once we go through and demonstrate that that is an exceptional event rule, which is now available because the SIP's in place. And so that gets us back into compliance with that. The challenge is the amount of expense that goes to us with the roads and for the construction industry for
Changes they want to have, they want the construction industry to make, yeah.
Well, if we could have them look at East County, I mean, you've got more farmlands in East County.
Yeah.
And there's more dirt roads and there's more desert out there, yet it's attainable out there. It's not within the PM10 attainment area. So why, they've got to look at why is that? Why does it just end at the Gilas?
it may not be determined yet. And so I'd be cautious about asking an agency to come in and do an evaluation on another piece of ground.
Well, don't point that out.
Hi, we're from the government, we're here to help.
Yeah, the checks in the mail thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Greg.
Thank you both.
Thanks, guys.
Sorry, Chairman, just to end up on a positive note. Supervisor Reyes, the stakeholder meetings will be now a full hour long. So instead of 30 minutes, hopefully we can have more time to convey our concerns to them.
All right.
Not a lot to be done. So on November 18, Senate Agriculture and Nutrition and Forestry Committee Chairwoman introduced the Rural Prosperity and Food Security Act, the Senate's version of the 2024 Farm Bill. The proposed package authorizes numerous programs that help counties invest in infrastructure, economic development, workforce training, nutrition, and conservation, with a special focus on our nation's most underserved communities. On the International World Affairs side of things, I joined the City of San Luis GSA and Helson Phelps Construction Company during their monthly meeting. And I'd like to give a brief update to the board on this, on the San Luis 1 Port of Entry expansion remodeling project. 50% of the utilities are done, set up for connection. No closures expected in the next 6 months due to construction. All 6 buildings are up. The 16 lanes northbound will be tentatively ready to go by January of 2026 now. And the southbound lanes will be completed by mid-2025. That being said, we still haven't heard a final decision from the Mexican side on where will southbound traffic go through. And along with that, Cesar Chavez Boulevard, the city is going to bid in March for construction of the boulevard, and they're working on utility relocation right now, and they're planning or expecting the construction will take between 18 to 24 months for Cesar Chavez Boulevard. And lastly, on this Friday, December 6th, I'll be meeting with the U.S. Department of officials, including U.S. Consul General in Tijuana, from Tijuana, Mexico, and the agency's director for international affairs. We will get a tour of both ports of entry as well as an update on the San Luis 1 expansion project, and I'll be sharing that update with the board on the next meeting. Mr. Chairman, that will conclude my presentation today.
Thank you, Alejandro. Any questions for me? Thank you, Alejandro. And we're gonna take a group picture. Are we gonna do it in there or? Because Mr. Reyes needs to leave by 11. So
we need to get moving. Can we skip the current events?
yeah. I mean, I'm okay with if that's the case.
Okay, that works for me.
What is it? What was the last thing?
Because it was Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's it, huh?
Thank you for your support, George.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Let's do this.